offering and be sure to be used in upbuilding God's kingdom. Take just a few minutes here to read the passages before Brother Tom comes to bring the message. You believe in reincarnation? A lot of people do. They think you die and you're going to come back as somebody else. Or something else. You know, an animal or a frog or a flower or something other. The children of Israel, when they came out of Egypt, they had all these wars. They had judges that would judge them. They come up to the time that they wanted a king of their own to rule. And Samuel talked to them and tried to persuade them not to have a king over them. That God ruled them. But they wouldn't have any part of it. They wouldn't listen to Samuel. So Samuel prayed to God, and God said heed to their talking. Give them a king. And then they found them a king. In 1 Samuel chapter 10, I was going to read up to what I was talking about, if you believe in reincarnation or whatever, you were making a new person out of you. It says first in chapter 10, 1 Samuel chapter 10, it says, Then Samuel took a vial of oil and poured it upon his head and kissed him. And they were talking about Saul here. And said, Is it not because the Lord hath anointed thee to be captain over his inheritance? When thou art departed from me today, then thou shalt find 2 men by Rachel's sepulchre in the border of Benjamin at Zilzah. If I pronounced that right. And they will say unto thee, The asses which thou wentest to seek are found, and lo, thy father hath left the care of the asses, and sorrow for you, saying, What shall I do for my son? Then shalt thou go on forward from thence, and thou shalt come to the plain of Tabor, and there shall meet thee 3 men going up to God at Bethel, one carrying 3 kids, and another carrying 3 loaves of bread, and another carrying a bottle of wine. And they will salute thee, and give thee 2 loaves of bread, which thou shalt receive of their hands. After that thou shalt come to the hill of God, where is the garrison of the Philistines. And it shall come to pass, when thou art come thither to the city, that thou shalt meet a company of prophets coming down from the high places, with plastry and a tabret and a pipe and a harp before them, and they shall prophesy. And the Spirit of the Lord will come upon thee, and thou shalt prophesy with them, and thou shalt be turned into another man. And let it be, when these signs are coming to thee, that thou do also occasion serve thee, for God is with thee. And thou shalt go down before me to Gilgal, and behold, I will come down into thee to offer burnt offerings and to sacrifices of peace offering. 7 days shalt thou tarry till I come to thee and show thee what thou shalt do. And it was so, that when he had turned his back to go from Samuel, God gave him another heart, and all those signs came to pass that day. I don't believe in reincarnation of this body here, but I believe that God changes from the inside out. That's what happened to Saul. He said that he would become another man. And when he had left Samuel that day, and he was turned into another man. His inward man was changed. And that's what we need to do today, is to accept Jesus Christ in our life. And He will change your heart. He changes the inward man to think like Him, to do the things that He wants you to do, and to turn from your evil ways as Saul. But Saul turned from God. We know what happened to him. But But that's what happens to us today when we accept Jesus Christ in our life. He changes the inward man. And when we accept Him as our Savior, He wants us to learn His ways, to learn His Word, to grow by it, and become a new creature in Him. And when this life is over, we can not only be a new creature in here, but we can also live with Him, the city that He's going to prepare for us. Brother Tom.
I could have sat for another hour and listened to that. If you will, this morning, I want you to follow with me in the book of Obadiah. This is a book you think, wow, where did he find that to come with a message from? That's between Amos and Jonah in the Old Testament there. I've spoken many times, and I've told you that I always thought that every time that I speak, the Lord has given me a message. Now, why He led me to Obadiah, I have no idea. But we've had a good time studying about Edom. And as I said Saturday, I got a few minutes to sit down and study. And being in the Word is so wonderful. Because as I sat and studied and I looked up references and I referenced down to other verses in the Bible, you can't know the feeling, or you can know, that I had because God was speaking to me through these other verses. God was giving me things that He wanted to say. And I've been feeling down for the last couple of weeks. I've been busy and doing things, and sometimes we get too busy to read in the Word. And that's how God gives us life, is through that Word. That's how God instructs us, is through the Word. And so as I sat there, and you're going to think I'm lying or funny, but I couldn't hardly sit still. Because I'm thinking, wow, this is what I needed. I needed a breath of fresh air, and God has given it to me through this message. And it helps me. I have a problem sometimes studying the Scripture and knowing what it says, but I don't have a problem when God sets in my mind where He wants me to deliver it from. And it is such a blessing to have Him guiding me, because I know when I get up here this morning that this message is meant for somebody. I have not a doubt in my mind that what I'm going to say is meant for somebody here today. Now, whether you will hear it is a different thing, or whether you will adhere to it is a different thing. But I encourage you, I beseech you, to go into the book here with me, to read these words, and maybe God will speak to you a message that somebody needs here today. Obadiah is a vision, is a prophecy that was given to him of God, and it was concerning Edom, a country that, if you look on a map, it's a little bit south of the Dead Sea, near Jerusalem. And God's telling Obadiah, He said, I am going to destroy this country. He's given him this vision. And it's certain that God doesn't lie, so you know these things are going to happen. So what I'm asking you today is, if you see yourself somewhere in this book, you may have an opportunity to change. And if you see that, you need to follow that, and you need to do it quickly. God told him, He said, I'm going to destroy this place. And maybe somewhere in this message today, God says, I'm going to destroy you someday if you don't follow me. So as we read together and as we study here in this ministry this morning, that's why I encourage you to read along with me. And in the first verse it tells her, it says, the vision of Obadiah, thus saith the Lord God concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. The Lord's saying that I will make you so despised that people won't have anything to do with you. He said, you're going to feel small. You're going to feel as a heathen. No one is going to want to be your friend. No one is going to want to help you. And these were people that were unthankful to God. Have you ever had a time in your life, as I talked about the last couple of weeks, I just kind of felt down and didn't feel like I have a lot of spirit in me. And we can do that, and God can do that to you and make you feel like that you're nothing. If nothing else, in your own mind. That's why he wants us to take from the scriptures and to grow and to learn from those. And he can set us in that position just as he was going to do Edom. He said, I'm going to work a work on you that others will despise you, and no one's going to be your friend. It goes on there and it says, the pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Now, pride will lift us up higher than we can fly sometimes. And I studied about Edom. Edom was a lot of rock cliffs, and those people dwelled in those cliffs. And there was safety. If you think about it from a vantage point, you're up high, they're in rocks, and you can see anybody coming for a long way from you. And they had carved some places in there, and it talks about that they were all cliffs, and they had carved in there and opened them up so they could see outside. But sometimes we get to thinking that we're something when we're really not. And that's what he's talking about here, pride. And that we think that we're above things and that no one can bring us down. I'm trying to think if it's in Proverbs, it says pride goes before a fall. Pride lets you think you're special, and not only that, it works with your mind, and you think everybody else thinks you're special. And it's a dangerous thing to be in. In James 4 and 6, it says, God resisteth the proud. So who will bring you down? When you get to this point in your mind that you're so high up that you're above everything else, who will bring you down? Verse 4 says, though thou exalt thyself as an eagle, and though thou shalt set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. There's your answer to verse 3, who will bring you down. Though we put ourselves up high and we think about eagles and eagles up nesting in high places, again, so that nothing can get to them and can bother them. We walk around sometimes with our nose so high up in the air, and it's a dangerous thing because if you've got your nose way up in the air, you're going to trip over something because you can't see it. I can remember my father used to talk about those people who said if it came a rainy day, they'd drown because they had their nose so high up in the air. People that think they're something. And so I thought today, where is such a place as Edom in today's time? Is Edom in our place of employment? That we have a position that we are so important we think that no one else in the office or around us or in our place can do without us? You know, I was so tickled today when Jimmy says, we can't sing this song, and somebody said, yeah, I can lead that part. We don't only grow ministers here, we grow tenors here too. That's what it's about. Helping out. Do you think that because of your family that you're better than someone else? That puts you somewhere above? You think about finances, that, you know, I'm well, I don't need anybody else. You think about your status in the community, that everybody likes me. That pride will lift you up there to a place so high that it's dangerous because the air is thin. Or maybe in your mind. And then it came to me what he's talking about here, a place that we all sometimes go and hide. Rock of Ages, cleft the church. We come here once a week for an hour to hide. It's a safe haven. It's a place that we can come and rest. It's a place that we can come and be and everybody's happy. But are we being honest with ourselves, or has pride got us to the point where we just come here and we take it in, but we're just here hiding, just as those people were in the rocks? We're hiding from ourselves and we're lying to ourselves because maybe we're not doing what it is that God wanted us to do. Maybe it is that we're not even following God. But if we come here and get into this safe little cubby, it's a false sense of security. Thinking that this is a safe place. This is holy ground. And I wonder today if we realize that when we come through those doors back there, we're in a holy place. There was a time when the temple was that only the priest could go into certain places because it was so holy. Do we realize that when we come through those doors that we're in the house of God? I watched a visitor one day. I was back handing out bulletins and I stepped outside the door. A visitor comes up and he's got 2 small children with him. He said, "Wait right here." He said, "Where are we going?" And the kids are about 5, 6, 7 years old. And they said, "We're going into the church." He said, "That's right." He said, "This is what we do in this church. This is the way we act in this church. And this is what we do not do in this church." How many of us tell our children how to act when we go to church? We dilute it down to it's just another building that we walk into and it means nothing to us. Or like that person that came here had reverence and said, "I want you children to act this certain way in here, and I want you to not do this in here." This is a holy place. This is a man, to my knowledge, isn't even a Christian. But he was sitting down and teaching his children before they walked through that door, "You're coming into hollow ground." Do we do that, or we just kind of let it dilute, wash away? It don't mean anything. I remember I was talking with my mother this morning. We had a good, and I was late this morning, but she and I were talking, and I talked and talked, and I said, "Mom, I got to go. I got the sermon." She said, "You've already given me one here." When we were little, you didn't go through that door with a piece of gum in your mouth. And everybody has their own little stories, but, there was 7 of us, and I could see Mom licking her fingers and washing her face and trying to, get all of us kids in. And we were poor. I don't even know that we had gum, but if we did, we better not have it in our mouth when we come through those doors, because this was a holy place. Now, I'm not preaching a sermon on about chewing gum in church. I'm preaching about that we as parents and grandparents and uncles and aunts and whatever we are, that we teach our children, our relatives, our friends, that this is a holy place and you're entering into it. And that we have reverence for God, because this is His house. My prayer is today that in this message, that if you're here today and you haven't followed God, you realize this is a holy place. You realize this is a time that you have to change your life and say, "God, I want to follow you," because He said, "I will bring you down." And it may not happen in this lifetime. He may let you wander and go on. The Bible even tells us that He will send you a strong delusion and let you believe a lie and be damned. But He'll bring you down later, because the Word says, "Every knee shall bow to me." It may not be in this lifetime. My prayer is that it is. But it may be at a time when it's too late, and you're bowed down and you're crying and you're asking for mercy, and there's a point where God cuts off mercy. There's a point where He is not merciful anymore. He is a just God. So if we're hiding here in this building thinking that we're safe, but we're really not following His statutes, we need to examine ourselves. We need to make sure that we're doing what the Scripture says. As we studied in Sunday school today, and we heard of different opinions that denominations have and the way that other people practice in their religion, but it doesn't match the Scripture. The Bible tells us that we will be judged by these words. I'm relying on these words, and I'm trying to follow them. Do I do it to the T every time? No. But Jesus Christ is my advocate. He says, "Come to me and I'll cleanse you." So when I mess up, that's where I go to. And you may have an opportunity to cleanse yourself here today. If today God speaks to you somewhere in this message, you need to follow Him now. Not, "I'll take care of that next week. I'll do that tomorrow." We're not guaranteed tomorrow. We're not guaranteed this afternoon. Today is the day of salvation. Verse 5 says, if thieves come to thee, if robbers by night, how art thou cutting off? Would they not have stolen till they had enough? If the grape gatherers came to thee, would they not leave some grapes? He's saying, think about your pride being stolen here, or whatever it is that you're putting in front of God today, or in between you and God today, if that were taken away. Suddenly it's taken away. I was talking to a person last night that when they were young, their house burned. And I said and thought, everything you got. He was talking about he had a knife collection. He said, all my knives were gone. All his clothes were gone. Everything he had was gone. You see, when we go to that day of judgment, everything we've got in this world, when we die and leave here, it's all gone. Except that relationship you have with God through Jesus Christ. It's the only thing that can aid you in the next life. He said, so what are you going to fall back on? If everything's taken away, what is your contingency plan? What's plan B? It says even if robbers come into your house, they're only going to take what they can carry away. They're going to leave something for you because they might not be able to carry it all off. Even those in the Old Testament, when they picked grapes, they left some. They left some of the fruit for the gleaners to come by, for those that were poor. He said, I'm going to take everything away from you. God says that Edom is going to lose everything. So I ask you today, have you made your calling and election sure? Verse 6 says, how are the things of Esau searched out, and how are his hidden things sought up? These were the children of Esau. Edom means red. And if I'm not wrong, I meant to look it up, but was Esau not red-headed? Am I right? Because everything in the world is going to be taken away. All things are going to be searched. If we come here and hide in this church, we're only hiding here for an hour. And everything that we do in our mind and everything that we say out in the world is going to be searched. Everything. It's going to be added up. Even those things that you think nobody else knows, that only you know in your mind, they're being tabulated somewhere. They're being recorded. And that's why it is so important that today we lay up our treasures in heaven. That's why we can't hide in this building, because there's nothing secret. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. All of the allies of Edom were going to come against them. They're going to find out that they're being betrayed. It's all part of God's plan to destroy them. They walked and lived with these people daily, just as we walk and live and worship with each other daily. Again, I ask you, who are you trusting and who are you putting your faith in? Because God can make it happen. I talk to drug users every day, and they have all kinds of friends while they got drugs. And when the drugs run out, the friends run out. And they said, when I get drugs back, my friends come back. He said, I'm going to make it happen to nobody like you. I'm going to take care of that. Shall I not in this day, saith the Lord, even destroy the wise men of Edom and understanding out of the mouth of Esau? He's going to take away their wisdom. Now you've got this pride or whatever it is that's going before you and God, and he's going to take away your wisdom. I want you, if you'll turn with me to Proverbs, the first chapter. Again, God cannot lie. These things he's told. And in the first chapter, beginning in the 27th verse, I want you to listen to these words. I want you to turn. I like hearing those pages turn. Because I could say a word incorrectly or mispronounce it or put a word where it shouldn't be. You are accountable for yourself. This is what God is promising. In the 27th verse, he says, when your fear cometh as desolation, and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish cometh upon you, then shall they call upon me. Isn't that neat to know that you can call upon God? That he's your refuge. He's in the cliffs, protecting you. If you're following him. Because it says, but I will not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. For they that hated knowledge, I'm giving you knowledge here today, and did not choose the fear of the Lord. They would none of my counsel, they despised all of my reproof. Therefore shall they eat of the fruit of their own way. What kind of fruit are you bearing today? And be filled with their own devices. He will let you do. He will let you go wherever he wants to. He won't force you to do anything. But I didn't read verse 26. I skipped that. I want to go back. I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear cometh. My contingency plan is to have Jesus Christ in my life and to have the Word in my heart. He's not going to laugh at me because I'm one of his own. But if you haven't followed him, he's going to laugh. He's going to destroy you. He's going to destroy all the people that you thought were your allies, and he's going to laugh at you. The only one that can help you is going to laugh at you. When God speaks, he expects you to listen and obey. Imagine not knowing how to get out of trouble. Maybe you're somewhere and you're in a spot and you think, oh, I can use this kind of wisdom and I can get out of this spot. But God's going to take that away from you. He's going to take the wisdom away from those people at Edom to where they don't know what to do. They don't know how to get out of trouble. To fear the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. When you sit here today and you hear the word and you say, you know what he's saying makes sense, we need to change, we need to do something different. That's knowledge. To fear God and what he can do to you, that is knowledge. And if you have it today, you're the better off. But if this thing is going right over your head today and you're not even comprehending this, maybe God's already took the wisdom away. Maybe that life rope that you were waiting on to dangle down later, he said, no, I'm not dangling it down anymore. You've refused me so long that I'm not working with you anymore. If you go back to Genesis, it says God's Spirit does not always strive with men. Don't count on waiting until the day you die to become a Christian because he may have given up on you long before that. When he throws the rope down, you better take hold of it and grab it. Verse 9 says, and thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed, to the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. For thy violence against my brother Jacob shame shall come thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. God is telling them, I'm going to slaughter you. Maybe he's telling you that here today. Because of what they did to Israel. They had not been kind to Israel. They had not helped Israel. It's this boomerang effect. Jimmy talked about a couple of weeks ago. Whatever we do, sometimes it comes back to us. And what they had done was coming back to them. And God's sending them a vision to Obadiah and saying, I'm going to destroy you. Be not deceived, God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man soweth, thou shalt he also reap. Galatians 6:17. Forever I will cut you off. How long is forever? Be not deceived. Whatever you have in your heart here this morning, whatever you're sowing this morning, that's what you'll reap. If you're sowing love, and if you're sowing that Jesus Christ is the advocate for you, that he is your Savior, you'll reap of that. But if you're sowing here this morning that you're denying him, you're not accepting him, he can't come into your heart, that's what you're going to reap later. The denial of Jesus Christ. Just as this city did of Edom. It says, in the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that the strangers carried away captive his forces, and foreigners entered into his gate, and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou wast one of them. He says here, just because you witnessed this happening and didn't do anything, you're one of them. You know, in James 4:17 it says, therefore to him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is a sin. We may not do things, but if we see them happening and don't correct them, or we don't help somebody, he's saying, you're just the same as those people. that did that to Jacob. You're one of them. In verse 12 it says, "But thou shouldest not have looked on the day of thy brother in the day, and he became a stranger. Neither shouldest thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. Neither shouldest thou have spoken proudly in the day of distress." You know, I've made a suggestion here this morning that we might come and hide in the church to make it seem like we're okay and we're like everybody else. And you say, well, you know, that's kind of a far stretch. But I sat and thought about the Good Samaritan in Luke 10. Two people come to him, to this wounded man on the road. The first was a priest passing by. A Levite come by. We're talking about people that were ministers, people that were religious leaders in that period of time, walking over on the other side of the road to dodge someone that needed help. And I suggest that people might try to do that in the church. We have leaders today in the congregations all over the nation that probably today are misleading people, telling them things that their God-made denomination, or not God-made, man-made denomination tells them this is how they believe. And they're taking it all in because they're not looking at the Word. My minister said, so that's the way it is. In verse 13 it says, "Thou shouldst not have entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity, yea, and shouldest not have looked upon their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity." Not only did they watch this happen, they went in and took the spoils of what was happening. When the people were fleeing from being invaded, they went in and stole the stuff. It gets worse. In verse 14 it says, "Neither shouldest thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that did escape, neither shouldest thou have delivered up those of his that did remain in the day of distress." Not only did they not do anything, not only did they go in and take their spoils and take the substance, but they blocked the way for the people that were escaping out of the country, and they had to turn and go back into the fighting because they were blocking their way. And not only that, they took some of them captive and turned them back over to the Chaldeans who were doing the raiding. Do we find ourselves in that mode sometime? We need to be cautious. Verse 15, "For the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head." He's saying, I will punish those that have caused trouble to the church. To those of Jacob, to those of Israel, he was going to punish. If you read on down through the rest of this chapter, it talks about how that those people will come back in and they will retake that land. They will repossess that land. Edom was going to become as a dry place and it's going to burn up. I ask you today, somewhere in here in your hearts, have you been following what Jesus Christ wants us to do? Has Jesus been knocking on your door and you go and look out the window but you won't open the door? Again, I say, he won't force himself upon you. Or maybe we're here today as a Christian and we realize that we haven't been doing those things that we need to be doing. And maybe we need to change things around a little bit. Maybe we're getting in that lukewarm stage. Let's assess ourselves and get closer and cling more to the cross. Because the only advocate we can have is Jesus Christ. I want to read a verse to you in 2 Chronicles, the 7th chapter, the 14th verse. It says, "If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sins and will heal their land." The Christian number in this nation is becoming fewer and fewer each day. But what are we doing about it? Are we out seeking others to come into the fold as somebody did for us? Are we keeping this place here holy and reverent? Does it mean something to us to come here and to be able to worship God? Are we just kind of being like those that in Edom that, well, you know, I'll let somebody else take care of that? It's not my war. I'm not fighting in that. We're going to stand and sing here in a minute. I want you to search your own heart. Somebody in this building today was meant, in no doubt in my mind, to hear this today. And I pray if you're going through those weeks as I have, that you just feel like you don't have any spirit, and you feel like sometimes that God's not with you, go to the Word, read the Word, and you'll find out that He was always there. It's just that you got a little bit away from Him. If you're here today and you're lost, don't think you can come within this building and come through those doors and have a safe refuge alone without doing the things, without inviting Christ into your life. Because we know that He said there'll be a time when I will separate the tares from the wheat. We can come here and we can sit and we can enjoy. But if we don't partake and ask Him into our heart, there's going to be a separation. As we stand and sing, number 632.